Next on Arizona 360, the Republican Party's plans for keeping Arizona red.
We're not leaving anything to chance. We're going to play in all the target races across the country, and especially here in Arizona.
Plus, questions about accountability at a shelter for immigrant children.
If there's a complaint, TPD has full authority to investigate.
And a farm in southern Arizona feeling the effects of ongoing trade disputes.
Nothing should be off the table at this point.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you so much for joining us. Early voters are starting to receive their ballots in the mail for the primary election on August 28th. As we've mentioned, races in Arizona have garnered national attention, and the major parties are already looking ahead to November's general election. This week, we're hearing from members of the Republican National Committee about some of the strategies they're using in Arizona to win voter support. What does the Republican National Committee want with Arizona this year?
Well, we want to make sure that we keep Arizona red. We've obviously heard a lot of talk about this blue wave that we haven't quite seen come through, so we're still waiting. But we are confident that we will keep Arizona red, and especially with our data program and our ground game. We've invested more than $200 million into our data program since 2012. And we're going to put in more than $250 million into our ground game for this cycle.
Has the ground game ever been this strong in Arizona before?
No, it hasn't. As far as investment goes, this is the largest investment we've seen in Arizona at this point. We've already had more voter contact at this point than any other cycle so far. Earlier this year in the special election in CD8, we knocked on over 115,000 doors just in the last month and a half of the election. So we're already seeing the benefits of the ground game that we've been putting in and all the investment that we've been making. So we're just anticipating that to continue and just keep growing our teams to capacity.
This sounds intense, a lot of resources on behalf of the Republican Party. Does that translate into potential worry about what's about to happen this next election cycle?
Well, we're confident that we can, we obviously know there are headwinds up against us coming into a midterm election, being the majority party and after a presidential election. But the difference here is that thanks to Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel and Chairman Lines here in Arizona, we've been able to invest into our ground game and data operation, and that's just something the Democrats don't have. And so we're not leaving anything to chance. We're going to play in all the target races across the country, and especially here in Arizona. And we believe that with this data program that we've built in the ground game, we've been able to build here in coordination with the state party, that we have a very good chance to defy history in November.
Dan, what issues are important to Republicans in Arizona right now as we approach an election?
Right now, the ones that we're focusing on mostly is the abolishment of ICE. That's not being viewed popularly across the state by anyone, Republican, Democrat alike. Also, Governor Ducey's education plan, that's a very big issue that is being looked at favorably on both sides of the aisle as well. So those are the two main things that we're focusing on.
The Republican Party is somewhat fractured right now from an identity perspective. So who exactly are you trying to reach in Republicans? Are these Trump Republicans? Are these Jeff Flake Republicans? Help me understand this.
I don't think the party's as fractured as people say it is. I think that they are very united and energized more than ever. We've seen that in our data-driven ground game here and the activists and grassroots who have gotten involved. We have more than 2,000 trained fellows across the state of Arizona. And to give you perspective, in 2016, we only had 5,000 nationwide. So we're already at half that in the state of Arizona than we were last cycle. So nationwide, we have more than 18,000 trained fellows. And what that means is they have the tools necessary to go out and get volunteers activated in their communities and go out and register voters and talk to them at the doors and on the phones.
As we get closer, you said you're not quite involved in the primaries, but once August 28th comes and goes, what can we expect from the Republican Party in Arizona?
So you can expect to see our ground game that we've been building here over the past year, more than a year now, really activate and start working for these candidates. We've already been active in our communities and everything and building up these neighborhood teams. So that's what we call them on the grassroots level. We have a Republican leadership initiative training that all of these neighborhood team leaders go through. And so you can really see that kick in and start, and the conversation starting solely for these candidates and specific messages moving forward.
What is it that the party really sees in Arizona this time around?
I think it's just that we're not taking anything for granted, a lot like what Christiana said. We want to make sure that we've done everything that we need to do in order to win. And so we're just not taking anything for granted. We want to make sure that, when November 9th rolls around, we can say confidently we did everything that we needed to do to win, and we will.
And I would add to that Arizonan values are very much a core thing here, and the Democrats are trying to make this California. You see groups coming in with Tom Steyer, for example, and really beating this drum that doesn't resonate with Arizonans, and we're seeing that in our data. So we're able to hone in on the messaging that Arizonans care about and the issues that they care about, so that we can go then and talk to them and deliver the correct message to their door and let them know that the Republican values are still the values that Arizonans hold dear here.
Ahead of the primary, we're working on similar discussions with members of the Democratic National Committee, and we'll also continue to bring you interviews with all the gubernatorial candidates who qualified for the ballot. Of the 5, we're asking each about Arizona's economy and education funding. This week, we introduce you to Democrat David Garcia, a professor at Arizona State University. In 2014, Garcia ran for Arizona's Superintendent of Public Instruction and lost to Republican Diane Douglas by a 1% margin. As candidate for governor, he's keeping the focus on education.
If folks don't know anything or they forget anything about this interview, I want them to know they will never have a governor more committed to public education, public schools than me.
Is funding the biggest challenge facing public education in Arizona right now?
You're asking me? You should ask the 50,000 teachers that walked out on the governor. Yes, it is. The strategy of the legislature was pretty simple. Cut public education to the bone, criticize it for not improving, and then turn to privatization. It's the 1, 2, 3 step that we've seen a lot in Arizona. Now, when you turn to privatization, the challenge with that is you will have a society of haves and have-nots immediately. We've seen this in other places across the world, for example. And I don't think that is consistent with our American values. And I think as soon as we allow that to happen, the American dream, this idea that through education you can make something of yourself, is no longer our dream in this country.
Arizona has one of the lowest unemployment rates it's had in the last decade at 4.5%, just a bit below. You've talked about a fair economy. What exactly is that fair economy, and how does it really drive into the current unemployment rate that we have here?
I mean, the reality is you may be able to get a job in Arizona, but you need 2 or 3 of them in order to scrape together a living. Arizona needs to move toward an economy that is bringing quality, high-wage jobs to Arizona, so that we don't have so many of our Arizonans having to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. The other challenge with that stat of having low unemployment rate, or even a high number of people moving to Arizona, is, we'll use Maricopa County in this case. Governor Ducey likes to say a lot. Maricopa County is the fastest growing county in the country. And how is it that it's the fastest growing county, yet all we can afford prior to our teachers walking out was a 2% raise over 4 years for teachers? Those 2 things don't add up. We've got a situation in Arizona where some people are benefiting. There are folks at the top. There are highest income wage earners. There are people that have access to government and to power today. And most of Arizona is being left behind. They're being left behind with jobs that aren't paying enough. They're being left behind without services or benefits that help create family stability. And we need to invest back in Arizona and its future through education, so that we are creating the kind of high-quality jobs in Arizona that are going to allow families to hold a job, have a profession, and allow their families to prosper.
You are very excited to see if you can ignite voters throughout Arizona to come out this election. You believe that the Latino vote, we talked about the millennial vote, this is their time.
We are seeing sort of a surge in Democratic activism and turnout. And I believe it's going to come to Arizona, I do. And I believe that if you look around the country, the candidates that are winning are candidates that are grounded in their communities and taking strong stances. And it's candidates that are fighting for representation, particularly representing those voices that are underrepresented today, that are rising and getting people excited. And that is our campaign. I have never voted for somebody with a last name like mine at the top of the ticket in my voting lifetime in Arizona, and I think that's exciting. And I think when we do that, we're going to see Arizona start to shift and change. You're going to see a commitment to representation at the state level, at all levels, that looks like Arizona, because that is my commitment. And when we do, I believe we're going to see a state that's going to begin not only to prosper, but to go back to your original point, is going to give every Arizonan an opportunity.
Okay, David Garcia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To see our other interviews with the gubernatorial candidates, visit news.azpm.org/yourvote. It's where you'll also find all of our Your Vote 2018 elections coverage. Southwest Key, the national nonprofit that houses immigrant children, faces added scrutiny after recent reports that looked into sexual abuse allegations at its facilities. It got us wondering about what agencies have oversight of Southwest Key, which gets most of its funding from federal government contracts. The nonprofit's Tucson facility falls in the city's Ward 3, overseen by Councilman Paul Durham. Durham says attempts to get information about Southwest Key's local operations have not been easy.
Interestingly, the inquiries from Arizona Public Media have shaken things loose in the last 48 hours. They actually called me back.
You had been requesting to gain access to the property?
Since approximately mid-June. A fellow in San Francisco in the Bay Area called me and advised me about the process of applying for a tour. We haven't set it up yet, and I'm told that it takes a long time, but there has been at least some contact in the last 48 hours.
What did you feel your interest was, or what was your obligation to go in and see it, given that it's in your ward?
I get inquiries from constituents, and I think it's my obligation to know what the conditions are like inside and how the kids are being treated. Other elected officials have toured the facility. There were several state legislators. Representative Grijalva toured the facility, and I'm told that it's a very tightly controlled tour.
Sounds like you'll be going in for a tour soon. What will you be looking for?
Opportunities for education. I think that, many of these students, it is a fairly mobile population, and kids come and go, but many stay for 60 days.
As the days have unfolded, we've learned more about what's taking place, or some of the allegations, some of the concerns that are existing inside the facility walls. How closely are you working with the police department to ensure that there is some local authority over a federal facility?
Very closely. I have contacted TPD and had a number of conversations with them. If there's a complaint, TPD has full authority to investigate. With the ProPublica story about sexual assaults, I think TPD is going to be watching that facility very closely.
And I want to be clear, there are many people who are worried that because it is a federal facility, there's limited local oversight, but you're pretty confident that if a call is made, the local police department will investigate it.
Yes. It is also overseen by the State Department of Health, but basically that department is responsible for assuring that the food is good and healthy, and that there are no conditions that endanger the children's safety.
As a city councilman, what is your level of authority should you see something that you don't like and you'd like to try to fix it?
I'm particularly concerned that the Trump administration has created an atmosphere of fear that is interfering with the work of federal agencies like the Office of Refugee Resettlement. ORR used to have, until March of this year, they had a strict policy of not sharing any information with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And that policy changed. So as a result, the cooperation that they're getting from relatives in the U.S. is very diminished. There's an atmosphere of fear and distrust. So we've got to change those policies. The City Council from time to time takes positions and recommends policy changes, and I would like to see us do that. I think we're very effective. The outcry from elected officials, county and city, helped change the policy of no tolerance, family separations. We ended that, and I think the outcry was successful in doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Councilman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Getting a better picture of how children are cared for in facilities like the ones run by Southwest Key is another challenge journalists and policymakers face. In a general sense, we wanted to understand some of the psychological effects children in these circumstances may experience. We got that insight from Andrea Romero, director of the Francis McClelland Institute for Children, Youth, and Families. It does research in collaboration with the University of Arizona on childhood development. For what these immigrant children are experiencing right now, will they need therapy? Will they need some sort of guidance to help manage what they're seeing and experiencing?
Well, you know, there have been many national scientific organizations that have put out statements this summer. One of the letters that was signed by a large group of psychological organizations asked for certain solutions to be considered. Not, I mean, of course, reunification of families, but also for there to be reparations made. And specifically, the kind of reparations they identified were social, emotional, and health services provided to the families after they reunify. In particular, not only providing services, but services that really are culturally attuned, trained staff that can speak the appropriate language, and people who really are familiar with the culture of the people that they're working with to provide the best possible kind of services to help them through that transition to coming back together as a family and dealing with any kind of negative after effects that the children or the parents may be having.
Is everyone on board with things like therapy? I mean, culturally, it's not something that everyone does or everyone sees the value in.
I think in any culture, it's a little bit of a challenge to raise awareness about mental health issues in particular. Mental health issues, I think, across all cultures. There's some stigma associated with that, but in my work with Latinx populations, many families and children are really open to opportunities. Culturally, it's really valued to talk with somebody about your problems and to get advice. Sometimes families don't have access to those kind of resources because they don't have health insurance or it's just too costly even with health insurance. So I think providing that opportunity for the parents and the children to talk, whether it's one-on-one therapy sessions or group sessions, I think people will show up.
Based on what we're learning about the experience these children are coming from certain areas of Central America where families are being threatened or extorted and then separated, is any of this, being here in the United States, experiencing this right now, though there are separations, is any of this somewhat better than what they might be experiencing if families are staying home?
I think what's really difficult is this immediate experience of being separated and the kind of context we're hearing about in those detention centers where children are kept in areas where the lights are on 24 hours a day, where it's noisy 24 hours a day, they're sleeping on floors. That kind of experience of what we would call a toxic stressor, it's whatever experience they had before that, the stress is only going to be compounded in their immediate environment.
We often hear that children are resilient, but they will remember this regardless of how young they are?
Some of the younger ones, we know that there's some as young as 18 months old that have been separated from their parents. At that age, they may not have as clear memories as maybe a 4 or 5-year-old would. We do know that with those really young ones, the babies, the toddlers, they're in a moment of development where parent-child attachment is paramount for the development of their brain, their body, their socio-emotional development, and not having that kind of fundamental positive emotional bond at that early age is potentially really going to affect them in the long term in ways that they may not fully understand until they're quite a bit older.
Okay, Dr. Romero, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
4 months after the National Guard began deploying to border states, the Guard is getting an expanded role at Arizona ports of entry. Staffing shortages remain an ongoing challenge for Customs and Border Protection. Dozens of Guard troops are helping at 3 Arizona ports with plans to deploy to another 3. We got a better idea of their duties from Colonel Hoyt Slocum.
Stuff that they do here, it's primarily pre-cargo inspection. They get involved looking at the manifests so the radar operators know what they're looking at. It's a sworn officer that's actually doing the scanning with the radar. Some logistical support, preparation of cargo for inspection, and then there is part of the surveillance piece where we are assisting them in operating the new technology, the cameras and the sensors that were deployed since the last operation, while they hire the personnel within their own organization that are going to man that permanently.
I know there are things that the Guard is not doing here at the port of entry.
Correct.
Can you clarify any misconceptions that the general public may have about the
Sure.
work that's being
Sure.
done here?
Probably one of the biggest ones is we are not directly involved in law enforcement. We have no direct contact with any of the migrants that are part of the national conversation of the day in either direction, reunification or otherwise. Even here, we are showcasing how clear the lines of authority and responsibilities are, who is law enforcement and who is supporting the law enforcement. You're seeing that here at this particular location.
This has been valuable for your troops to be able to do things that perhaps they wouldn't normally get that experience at.
I think the real world aspect to it is probably the biggest advantage for them. They're fired up, they feel like they're on mission, affecting change, helping with some of these interdictions, helping with some of the counterfeit stuff that's coming through. Our main line of focus is on these transnational illicit activities. That's what we're really concerned about out here.
And more timely and to get
Chief CBP Officer Garth Grosso oversees trade. He says National Guard members receive several days of hands-on training before they can assist with inspections.
With this group that came in, we did a 7-day field training with our officers. So for 7 days, they were side by side with our officers, teaching them just the physical inspection of the commodities. They're looking for counterfeit merchandise, improper labeling, any kind of contraband, narcotics, stuff like that.
The Guard effort relieves staffing pressures. At the Nogales ports of entry, Director Mike Humphrey says there are about 140 vacancies, much needed as smugglers up their game. This year, officers have seized more than 8,000 pounds of meth at Arizona's border.
Because our officers still have other duties that they have to do to include training and to maintain all their proficiencies. So at times now we can, instead of paying overtime, we can get the officers in to get it done.
Offering her help today is Private Tessa Gregg. Her deployment began about 2 months ago. Gregg says when she joined the Arizona National Guard last year, she never anticipated it would take her to the ports.
No, I never thought I'd be doing this kind of thing, but I'm glad that I had the opportunity. There's about 10 of us here working, and we always jump in to help them when they need to, and it makes things go by a lot quicker.
The Guard is kind of unique in that we have all these other worlds that we come from. They all have civilian employers. Some are engineers, some are project managers, cops, firemen, nurses, all of it. And this is just another way to add depth and breadth to what they know how to do.
Are there things that you guys are proud of that you've actually been a part of here?
It's a tough metric to track, right? It's like saying, well, how do I measure my situational awareness that I'm helping these guys to increase? Well, I can tell you how many thousand hours we've spent looking through cameras. We don't track as a separate metric how many drugs are directly interdicted by badges that we push to the border. That was just too tough to manage. But the director's remarks are correct. Every seizure, every interdiction is a victory, and we'll take it. They'll take all the help they can get.
As the fiscal year comes to a close, does
Yes.
your strategy here on the ground change? You just keep operating day to day?
So if it is not funded into the next year, we would just demobilize, just like we do wherever we do our mission. If it does continue, we will continue to build and continue to do these mission sets into 2019 or further if they ask for it. This week, we also learned the Guard troops are assisting border sheriffs in Arizona. The Cochise County Sheriff's Department says it has 6 Guard members working in special operations to include analyzing video footage. Before we go, we revisit what's becoming an occasional series where we hear from Arizonans about issues important to them in their own words.
This week, how tariffs imposed by the Trump administration are already having an effect on the Farmers Investment Company, which operates a pecan farm in Sahuarita and exports about half of its products internationally. The company's president, Dick Walden, told Arizona Public Media how more of his inventory is in cold storage because of Chinese tariffs on American tree nuts. In his own words, Walden told us about the ripple effect ongoing trade conflicts could have on his company's 300 employees and the community.
Our government and our administration needs to seriously think about the impacts they're having on families and employees and companies, not just like ours, but at all levels, because the ripple effect always goes beyond the expected amount of unintended consequences. We're dealing with a living plant which requires irrigation and orchard management. We cannot afford to abandon the orchard. We're looking at how we can reduce costs and how we might delay capital expenditures until we have a better sense of what will happen in the marketplace. We don't expect to reduce employment. Local businesses that sell groceries, sell tires, and so on may ultimately see an impact on their local business as businesses like ours, which have a major stake in the export market, are forced to adjust. Maybe we'll use less diesel. Maybe we will use fewer tires. Maybe we will delay the acquisition of new tractors for a year or two and the acquisition of replacement trucks for a year or two. Somebody has to pay that tariff. The Chinese are going to pay more for U.S. sourced pecans. And the result will be that they will source pecans from Mexico, South Africa, and Australia. Here at home in the United States, we may well see pecans cheaper because inventories will increase and prices will have to come down to account for the imposition of the tariff. Depending on the severity of the impact on profitability, nothing should be off the table at this point.
And that's all for now. Thanks so much for joining us. To find out what's in store for next week, visit us on social media. We'll see you next week.